All right, today we're cracking open a text from the 7th century to talk about modern government. I know, it sounds like a stretch, but we're going to explore how these really old ideas about leadership, justice, and ethics might just give us a powerful new way to look at our world today.
So that's our big question, right? Could a collection of sermons and letters written 1,400 years ago actually hold a blueprint for good governance now? It's a pretty bold claim. So let's get to know the source.
The book we're diving into is the Nahjul Balagha. The title itself means the peak of eloquence. It's a collection of sayings attributed to Imam Ali, who was the 4th caliph in early Islam. Now, it's famous as a masterpiece of Arabic literature for sure, but its real punch, its lasting power, is in its ideas about how society should work and what power's really for.
Okay, so the first core principle we find in here is a huge one. And honestly, for its time, it's incredibly radical. It's this idea that a ruler isn't a master, they're a public trustee.
Just listen to this quote from a letter he wrote to a governor. It completely reframes what a political office is. He says, a position of power isn't a bait. It's not a prize you win for yourself. No, it's a trust, a heavy responsibility that's literally lying on your neck and you're accountable for it. And this sets up a really stark contrast. On one side, you've got the classic ruler as master model, someone who's all about personal gain and power. But the Nahjul Balagha flips that on its head. It argues for a ruler who serves the public, who sees their job as a duty. The government exists for the people, not the other way around. It's a total paradigm shift.
You know, there's this famous story where Ali was seen mending his own worn-out shoe. And when someone asked him about it, this was his answer. He's saying the power, the authority, the whole caliphate, it's all completely worthless. Actually, it's less valuable than an old shoe. Unless, and this is the key part, unless it can be used as a tool to bring about justice. Power is only a means to an end, and that end is always justice.
So this laser focus on justice leads to another idea, and this one's a little more surprising. It's the argument that justice is actually a higher virtue than generosity.
So this was a question put to him directly. And think about it for a second. At first glance, you'd probably say generosity, right? It feels more personal, more noble. But the logic in this text, well, it completely turns that assumption upside down. Okay, here's the breakdown. Justice is the general caretaker. It's about creating a balanced, stable system where everything and everyone is in their proper place. It's what keeps the entire society healthy. Generosity, on the other hand, while it's a wonderful thing, is a particular reliever. It helps one person with one specific problem. It's basically a patch for a system that's already broken. The argument is, a truly healthy society shouldn't need constant acts of generosity, because it should be built on a rock-solid foundation of justice for everyone.
And I love this metaphor they use to drive the point home. Justice is a public highway. It's wide open and it lets all of society move forward together. But oppression? That's a blind alley. It's a dead end that traps everyone, including the person who creates it. A just system is the only path that's actually sustainable. So let's get practical. The Nahjul Balagha doesn't just stick with high-minded philosophy. It actually lays out a clear, actionable code of conduct for public officials. You could almost call it a 7th century job description.
The text gives us 4 pillars for a functional government. First, how you select people. It has to be based on honesty and skill, not who you know. Second, and I find this one fascinatingly practical, is compensation. Pay your officials well, give them an abundant salary so they won't even be tempted by bribes. Third, you need accountability. Appoint secret inspectors to keep an eye on things. And fourth, accessibility. A leader must never ever hide from the people. They have to be available to hear grievances directly.
And the code of conduct goes on with some really clear red lines. No favoritism or nepotism. Don't accept gifts, because they could be bribes in disguise. Never break a promise or a treaty. And this is pretty remarkable. It even sets out rules of engagement for warfare. Don't go after people who run away. Don't kill the wounded. And protect civilians, especially women, children, and the elderly.
Now, as a good student of history, you have to ask questions. And with any ancient document, there's always a debate about its origins. So let's take a quick but important detour into the question of authenticity.
Okay, so you've got 2 main perspectives. On one side, some scholars point out that this book was compiled about 350 years after Ali's death. They say many sayings don't have a clear chain of transmission back to him, and they don't pop up in earlier texts, which makes them hard to verify historically.
But, on the other hand, for more than 1,000 years, this text has been absolutely revered. And the argument here is that the ideas themselves are so powerful and profound, they stand on their own, regardless of the precise history of compilation.
And that really brings us to the heart of it, doesn't it? Putting aside the scholarly debates for a moment, why has this text lasted? Why do these ideas about leadership still hit so hard today?
Ultimately, I think this is what it boils down to. Whether it's a perfect historical record or a later compilation, this text became a yardstick. Its ideas on justice, on accountability, on service, they created a timeless standard for what ethical leadership should look like.
And here's the part that as a political science nerd just gets me every time. Look at these parallels. The ruler as trustee, that's basically the core of social contract theory. The reciprocal rights between the ruler and the ruled, that's the foundation for checks and balances. Justice as a public good is just another way of saying the rule of law. These aren't just old, dusty ideas. They are the bedrock principles we are still building on and arguing about today.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. This 1,400-year-old text gives us a surprisingly clear and incredibly demanding standard for just leader and a fair government. So the real question is, if this was the benchmark they were setting all those centuries ago, how well do our own modern systems and the leaders who run them actually measure up? Something to think about.